Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time I would like to talk about how we basically have a next generation 2D Zelda available to play right now. And that's the debut demo of the Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. Now no, it's not technically Zelda, but it basically is. It's basically a Square Enix made Zelda game. This is one of the final big reveals of the show. This is coming from the makers of Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default. Yes, it's using the HD 2D style and it looks beautiful, but this is not your typical RPG along those lines. This is an action RPG, kind of like The Legend of Zelda. And so I played through this demo and absolutely loved it. It was after this demo, after I played it, that I came to the realization that this partner showcase is actually a lot better, mainly because of this game. This is a really, really good game that I'm totally sold on, and I think a lot of other Zelda fans, if they give it a try, they will also be totally sold on. So it's on the Switch 2 eShop, it's a debut demo, so it's free to play. There's an hour and a half or so of gameplay there that's really, really good, and I strongly recommend it. But why is this Zelda, basically? Well, like Zelda, it's more of an action-adventure, right? Yes, there are some RPG elements, but it's more so focused on the adventure and the puzzling and the going through dungeons and all of that kind of stuff, very much like Zelda. You start off in a castle, you go out into the town, and then you set out on a quest in a fantasy medieval world. There are all sorts of weird, quirky enemies that you fight with a sword and other items, very much like a Zelda game, and you'll find different caves and puzzles to explore through, using different unique abilities, ultimately leading up to a dungeon that's themed off the area. The first one, you guessed it, is a forest-related dungeon, like how it usually is in a Zelda game. But it goes beyond that. You can cut grass like you could in Zelda. There are bombs that you can place, pick up, and throw, also very much like Zelda. There are even walls with cracks that blow up that expose different secrets and areas, just like in The Legend of Zelda. You even have a fairy, which reminds me very much of Ocarina of Time's Navi. Now the fairy this time around works a bit differently. There's actually different things the fairy can do. The fairy is useful in the Adventures of Elliot. But the inspirations are clear here. There's even currency that looks a lot like rupees. And I want to make something clear after playing through this demo here. I don't get the sense that this is a Zelda ripoff. This isn't trying to be Zelda. It's just clearly greatly inspired by Zelda. I think back to The Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap, one of my favorite 2D top-down Zelda games. That game was made by Capcom, and they did an incredible job, and I've always wondered what would happen if another company were to try and make a Zelda game. Well, we basically have that here with The Adventures of Elliot by Square Enix. And what this game is, in my opinion, is essentially a direction the Zelda team could have taken with 2D Zelda. In some ways, I might even find myself liking this game more than The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, a 2D top-down Zelda that came out last year, which I enjoyed, by the way, and I think they did some really cool things there, but what we're playing with The Adventures of Elliot feels very much like a direction they could have taken top-down Zelda before the Zelda team started pushing things in a more open direction. This game isn't like Echoes of Wisdom, where if there's a tree or some sort of wall, you can climb over it. You can't quite do that. But you can jump, and there is some fun platforming, which is not something that can be said for all Zelda games, actually, and so there are some ways that this game sets itself apart. There is the Magicite, and you can use that to expand on your abilities and such, and there's a lot of cool weapons you get early on, like a scythe, for example, and the fairy abilities as well really help to set this game apart. But ultimately, it still feels very much like a kind of Zelda game. There are tons of fantasy medieval adventures out there, but not many of them have also a strong puzzle element or a strong platforming element. These are things you might see in a Zelda game. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say that the puzzles in this game feel as crazy or unique as we see in a lot of Zelda games, but there is definitely some interesting puzzling there. There is definitely a little bit of that, especially when you get to those final bosses of the dungeons. They usually have some unique movesets and abilities, and you have to figure out how to take them out, very similar to some Zelda bosses. It's not just about hacking away at a life bar. There is a certain weakness that you have to figure out for the enemy. The bosses are a puzzle as well, like The Legend of Zelda. And the game also manages to have a magical and epic atmosphere like Zelda as well, and so This game is going to appeal to the Zelda fan. It feels very Zelda, and it's a very good game. But something else I want to harp on here is the visuals, because this does feel like a next generation 2D Zelda game, a direction they could have taken Zelda. Like, imagine if they took Zelda in an HD 2D direction. This is basically what that would be. And so I think it's really cool to see different areas off into the distance that you can go to, but when you see them off into the distance, they almost have a little bit more of like a blurred, pixely effect, and when you get closer, it gets a little bit more clear. But I also really enjoy how the lighting and shadows work. Like, you can move around your fairy around the screen, you see the glow of her presenting throughout the environment. Or when you charge up your different sword or weapon attacks, the camera closes in and you see yourself charging up, and then when you attack, the camera focuses in on the enemy there. It's a really cool cinematic effect. There's something very neat going on with the visuals here. And I'm not here trying to say that this game is straight up better than Echoes of Wisdom, but from the hour and a half I've played of this game, I think I might at least want to admit that I am enjoying the visuals more so than the style they chose for Echoes of Wisdom. But perhaps what really cements it for me is the quality of this game. From what I've played, there is definitely a quality here. And it should be noted, like other Square Enix HD 2D games, we get an initial demo so they can learn more about how to make this game better, to polish it up. But I really didn't notice too many issues with the game. Like, there's just a great deal of polish and quality here. Everything works so well. There's a great level of presentation. I actually really enjoyed how they handled the dialogue, and I think the voice acting is actually pretty strong. Save for one character, the fairy. The fairy, kind of annoying, which I guess makes some sense because, well, Navi's known to be annoying as well. And maybe that's something they can sort of adjust a little bit or tweak a little bit in the final release of the game. But there were no weird glitches, everything flowed really well. The way the gameplay worked is intuitive. The music in the game so far is awesome as well. And I also actually found the game to be a decent amount challenging. I died a few times. Something that I usually can't say for the beginning of a Zelda game, even though more recent Zelda games have improved on the difficulty. And I actually took the time to explore every nook and cranny throughout the demo, and there was quite a bit to find. I found a variety of different little tombs and dungeons and challenges, and as you go out and you complete all these different challenges, you'll find different chests that give you different items and abilities and expand your life capacity. And so I greatly expanded upon my moveset throughout the experience, and by the end I still found the final boss to be challenging. I died a couple times, I had to learn the moveset, try a few different things, and so that was a fun experience. And let me speak on the bosses as well, because yes, there is like an interesting puzzle you have to figure out to defeat a particular boss, but like with the final boss, there was a variety of different elements to it. There was platforming involved, there was shield parrying involved, there was just trying to reach the enemy, and there was even that classic trope of throwing the bomb inside the monster when it's inhaling everything around it. It was both a fun, satisfying experience while also feeling a decent amount like a Zelda game. But I am really looking forward to playing more of this. It's a pretty good game, at least from what we've played so far. So again, I strongly recommend you check this out if you're a Zelda fan, or maybe if you're just a fan of adventure games or RPG-like adventure games. Give it a go. If you have a Switch too, it's on the eShop as a free download, so that barrier of entry is fairly low. But what do you all think? Have you played the Adventures of Elliot? Do you agree that this is essentially a next-gen 2D Zelda game? Are you also sold on it like me? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.